You're watching our live coverage in the battle for your vote 2014. And I want to go across now to Chief Election Commissioner V.S. Sampath. He's joining us from his residence early this morning. Mr. Sampath, welcome to Headlines today. I want to begin by asking you about your thoughts as we wait for the first ballots to be counted. It's been a long, arduous electoral exercise for you, putting together the biggest electoral exercise in the world. How difficult was this, and what are your thoughts as you wait for this entire process now to come to its end?
See, the Election Commission is not unduly disturbed by the momentary ups and downs. We have been, doing our task in a very consistent manner. And a national election, it requires a lot of preparation. We had to do a lot of preparation, and everything went on well. Only towards the closing stages, we came across some unsavory, episodes, which no doubt were not very pleasant. But all the same, Commission has been able to manage the election in a manner which is in the best traditions of Election Commission of India.
Mr. Sampath, Arun Jaitley attacked the Election Commission saying, timid men can dwarf high offices. Several critics of the Election Commission say that this is the weakest Election Commission we've had in several recent elections. They said that the Election Commissioner and his team didn't stand up, that they were very weak. How do you respond to all these charges, Mr. Sampath?
I would only like to ask to what we have not stood up. Because one, it is not Chief Election Commissioner, it is all three Election Commissioners who constitute Election Commission. And secondly, as far as we know, on every issue which is worth standing up, we have been standing up, and if anything, we stood up for our district magistrate who took a decision based on some professional inputs. I don't think how anybody can say we are not standing up too. In fact, we were not cowed down by all these things.
There's been a lot of talk of how the Election Commission has been a divided house. Mr. Brahma gave my colleague Karan Thapar, and will be joining me in a short while from now, an interview in which he said that the Varanasi issue could have been handled better. It almost seems as if the men at the top of the Election Commission weren't pulling together as a team, that there were divisions which came to the fore, making the entire Election Commission seem like a disjointed unit, Mr. Sampath.
I can assure you there has not been any internal difference in the Commission. We have always worked as one man, though it is a three-member Commission. All our decisions, including our decision to stand by the DM of Varanasi, is a unanimous decision. Whether it is that or anyone earlier or anyone later, every one of our decisions are unanimous decision. There is no room whatsoever to believe that there has been dissensions in the Commission.
Brahma didn't just attack the handling of the Varanasi issue. He even said on the issue of Rahul Gandhi entering poll booths in Amethi, the Election Commission, he suggested, wasn't decisive enough. Now, you've got one of your colleagues suggesting that the Election Commission was indecisive in handling as sensitive and as controversial an issue as Rahul Gandhi entering poll booths on voting day in Amethi, sir.
Not like that. As a general statement, in matters like this, once you have all the inputs, if you don't take a decision, yes, certainly people can question the intentions of the Commission. But the fact is, as at that point of time, we did not have all the inputs. The moment we got the inputs, perhaps the very next day, a decision was taken on the matter. I do not think one can analyze these things by taking out of context and draw conclusions. That is not the case. When the inputs came, decision on that issue was also a unanimous decision.
Why don't you tell our viewers, through this entire period of the last 3 months, what's been the most tense, the toughest moment for the man who had really the toughest job over the past 3 months?
No, in fact, the first and second phase of election in LWE areas is something which was really a matter of concern. And we found that as a result of the arrangements, meticulous planning, etc., which have been made, we were able to do that phase of election reasonably well, reasonably confident. Subsequently, when we came towards the close, some of the phases in West Bengal and UP, we were again, we had experienced complaints of poll malpractices, people coming frequently, asking for some action, asking for repoll, etc. That's another phase which was somewhat of a matter of concern. In fact, when we came to some stage relating to West Bengal, we even reoriented our strategy regarding deployment of Central Police Force. So till
before
then,
I conclude, I want to ask you about this whole electoral process, which starts, the counting starts in about an hour and a half from now. Just explain to our viewers what they should be looking out for. By when do you think we will know the multi-billion-dollar question, the one question which everyone has on his minds, about whether Narendra Modi is becoming the next Prime Minister, who's winning the battle for your vote 2014. Can you explain this process, and can you explain people what they should be looking out for, sir?
The scheme of counting is the first half hour. When we start at 8 o'clock, first thing to be taken up for counting is postal ballot. From 8:30 onwards, EVMs will be taken up for counting. You can expect perhaps most of the results by the afternoon or evening.
And this is a process, Javed, that used to take 3 days, 4 days, I remember when we started off. And now the entire 66% of the people who voted, 66% of the electorate voted, and we'll know by about noon who's winning. What a fabulous job this is. Mr. Sampath, before I conclude, one final question. Who's more tense this morning? We as Sampath, our Chief Election Commissioner, or the Netas, Mr. Sampath? Who's more tense?
We are used to living through these things, and we only work with our own composure, whatever may be the situation.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Mr. Sampath, for joining us. There have been some highs, there have been some lows, there have been some controversies, but net, Javed, the Election Commission has done a fabulous job.
They've done
there can be no dispute about that.
They've done a very good job, and there is no denying the fact that we have the best electoral system, Rahul.
And he might not be as assertive as an S.Y. Qureshi or as charismatic or as a T.N. Session, but he's done his job.
Yes, they've done a job under very difficult circumstances.